so much, everyone, for joining me. There's Elder Gomes Moreira. I'm assuming from Portugal, not sure, or Brazil maybe, with a name like that, but I'm just guessing. And Kama from Germany. Wow, 8:11 p.m. there. And Nuno Marques. Hi, Nuno, from Portugal. Yes, entrada in Portuguese. I was kind of my brain works in both Portuguese and English, sometimes in Spanish. And when I went live, I just forgot and started speaking Portuguese. But these lives will, in general, be in English because I can reach more people if I speak in English, I believe. Although Portuguese is also one of the most spoken languages in the world, but English is for sure spoken in more countries. So thank you so much. Let's start this session. I wanted to start by presenting myself, although probably all of you, so Elder says is from Brazil. Yes, Elder, thank you. So probably all of you have seen me online, maybe on LinkedIn or something like that. I am Portuguese, but I live in Toronto, Canada. And I currently work as an Excel consultant. And so most of my work is Excel all day long, creating business solutions for companies, usually helping them with automation of some sort to reduce time spent on repetitive tasks, to help with avoiding errors when on data entry, sometimes data cleansing as well for data analysis. So a little bit of different things that can be done in Excel. And I've been thinking for a while that I could teach some of what I've been learning in the past years. I don't have a very long experience, to say the truth, with Excel. I'm not like some people we know that have been working with Excel for decades. I haven't used, well, I've been using Excel for over 20 years, but at a more deeper level, only in the past maybe 5 years or so. Kamal is asking, I see if I'm natively from Portugal. Yes, I'm natively from Portugal. We have Orisvaldo Oliveira as well from Brazil. Welcome, Orisvaldo. Nice to have you here. Yes, and so I've done different work in Excel, and one of the most recurrent tasks that that come to me is about automation, a lot of times reporting automation. And I've seen that people struggle with that. So imagine a situation where every week, every day, every month, depending on the situation, you have that same task that you need to repeat. You need to get data from somewhere. You need to maybe reshape your data because it doesn't come in the way you would like it to come to you. And then you need to do something with it. Maybe you need to do some calculations, or maybe you need to split the file in smaller files to distribute to different people, each one receiving their own portion. Or just maybe direct your data into a dashboard. So different things that can happen, but the repetition is in the process of getting the data coming into where we want it to be, and then maybe the procedures we want to do after we have our data cleansed. So we have Jack Maguinha from Peru. I speak a little bit of Spanish. Hola, ¿cómo estás? Gracias por estar aquí. Have you learned, so Kamal is asking, have you learned VBA from industry experts or self-taught? Mostly self-taught. Well, to tell the truth, a mix of both. But I didn't learn with industry experts directly in person. So I purchased a few courses that helped me evolve and condense and structure and solidify my knowledge. But I'm learning every day. And a lot of the learning is self-taught, and happens when I have something new to solve. Every time, every new project comes with something new. Some of the procedures, some of the steps are common. or are similar to something that I have done before. But others or other things, other steps are unique, and sometimes they are the first time. It's the first time I've seen that request coming to me. Uh, so that's one of the things we have to keep in mind. The examples that I'll bring here, very rarely, I would say even maybe never, would be applicable exactly the same way to your projects. Each project has their unique requirements, and that's why Excel is such an amazing tool, because it can be adapted. It allows us to create custom solutions for custom requirements. A company has their own way of doing things. Each company has their own way of doing things. It has their own way of collecting data, and has their own way of attending their customers. So I've had situations where the client told me, well, I've tried so many different programs already available for my industry. There's programs available out there for me to manage my inventory, for example, but there's always something missing, because I want to give a good experience to my clients. I don't want them to call me and not being able to not being able to provide something that they are asking, just because the system that I'm using does not allow me to do it. So Excel is something that we can use in situations like that. Other times also, Excel can be used to create a model or create a prototype of a system. And as the company grows, at some point, Excel may not be the ideal tool to use, but the structure of the system is built in Excel, and then an application developer in another programming language can come in and can use what is built in Excel as a prototype of what needs to be built in another platform. Okay, so we have more comments. Nuno is saying that video and audio is good. It's excellent. Thank you, Nuno, for your feedback. And Kamal is commenting that at the same time, at this time when people need industry experts to level up learners, so novice can even build professional solutions. Yes, and there's about that, I wanted also to make a comment. So anyone can start, and that will be exactly my point with these training sessions. Anyone can start creating solutions. And for example, when we go to VBA and even in Power Query, we do things at the beginning that later we look back and say, oh my goodness, I did that, and now I can do so much better. But the fact is, I want to point two things. One is, well, even though it was not so perfect, it was good enough to help a company saving time and money. That's one thing. Another thing is, we need to be aware that we are learning, so we need to take care, be careful, and create a testing environment, a testing folder or folders that we will be using for our development of the tool. Only after being tested and being approved by people who will be using the tool, we should really move into production. Because when we are programming, we do a lot of mistakes, sometimes because we didn't think of something very carefully, or we forgot something on the code. Sometimes the client didn't even didn't give us all the requirements. We were not aware of a special situation, a special case at that moment, and then when we test, we realize, oh, there's situations where something different may happen, so I need to account for that. So always be very careful when you are programming. Remember to use a testing environment. Don't go on production right away, because it can cause damages. Okay. Okay, so let's move on, because I'm assuming that those who came are wanting to learn something The purpose here is to teach Power Query and the fundamentals, not everything at once. It's impossible to teach it in one day, even let alone 1 hour. I didn't want to go much longer than 1 hour today. So possibly the example that I want to show you today won't be complete in just one session. And I'm assuming that my expectation is that today we will complete the portion of Power Query, and then next session we will do the portion of VBA. And I will show you what I mean by that by as exemplifying what we will be building from scratch. Okay, so let me show you my screen. I just moved my tool over there. Maybe I should move this bigger. Oh, and I forgot to bring my, or maybe I have it. Let me just test it to see if I have my Zoom tool available. Yeah, so it's available in case you need Zoom. Let me know, okay? In case it's too small. Okay, so here's the situation that we have today. We have a company that where every month someone, let's assume it's us working there, we receive a sales report, and we put the sales report in here. Please let me know, is it too small? Let me know there. In this folder, let me maybe make this bigger. In the folder sales reports, we have at this moment 3 files, one for each month of 2020, January, February, and March. And note that these are CSV files, so not Excel files. A CSV file is a text file that is generated. It's a text file and can be opened with Excel. But it's in fact a text file where each field is separated by a comma, and CSV stands for oh goodness, did something there. Stands for comma separated values. If I go right click, instead of double clicking, if I go right click and do open with, where is open with? Here, and do notepad, it opened on the other screen, but I'll move it over here. This is what we get. So there's 2 rows here at the top with some kind of title information. And then from here, we have the name of the field, comma, the name of the field, comma. So these will be the column titles. And then from here, these are the, each row is a record. So there's a record for March 21, 2020. This is the sales rep ID. And then the product ID is this one, and then comma, and then lastly we have quantity. Sometimes these files generated in Europe may come with semicolon instead of colon, because in Europe and other countries, maybe other places, the decimal separator is comma. I'm working in North America, where the comma separator, sorry, the decimal separator is dot. Okay, so let's move this over there. Let's close this. So we have these reports every month. We put the report there. Yes, Noon, I'm not using Excel yet. I'll be there in a moment. Now, if we open these files with a double click, then Excel is defined to be the program to open by default the CSV file. And this is what we get. The same thing that we were just looking at in the CSV file. but open in Excel. And Excel was smart enough to separate each record in one separate cell. Okay. Sometimes it doesn't do that, depending on how the CSV file maybe was created. I'm not sure what distinguishes one thing from the other, but sometimes Excel cannot do this right away on opening. So I was explaining the situation. We have the files. Every month we put the file there. And our manager said, okay, oh, let me go back and just mention something. You notice that the data, we only have kind of codes, right? We have a sales rep here by a code. So it's the employee number of the person, the sales representative that made the sale. And the product ID is also a code. I cannot really, unless I know the codes, product codes of my company very well, I won't be able to tell what this is. And then I have a quantity, and that's it. And now the manager tells me, well, I need you to figure out who is this person, who is the manager to this person, which product is this, what's the price for this product. And since this person, this entry here tells us that 2 items were sold, I want to know the total amount for this transaction. And then in the end, I want you to create separate reports, one for each store manager. And I want separate files, Excel files for them. So this is our mission. Okay, I want to demonstrate this already built and working, and then we will start from the beginning. Company data is an Excel file that tab, we don't need it. And in this file, we have these 3 blue tabs. In fact, let me just hide this one. We don't need this one. And this in this file, we have 3 tabs. Can you see it well enough? Do you want me to make a little bit bigger? Let me know. We have a tab with the list of all the employees where I have the employee ID. And that's the code that comes in our report. So from here, I can tell the employee name, the address, city, state, and of course, this data is all fake data, so generated on purpose for this demonstration. We have some private information here, birth date, age, hire date, and we have the location in which this employee is working, the department, and the base salary. So I'll have to use this table to figure out some of the information that I need for my report. I will need from the employee ID, I'll need to bring up the employee name and maybe the location, okay? Then we have a list of stores. Each store has a code, and in that location I have also different information about each location, the name of the location, it's the name of the store here, city, state, address, and then who is the store manager. So we will also need to extract some information from here and combine it with the information that we have in our sales report. And finally, we have a table called products. And in this table, we have a list of product IDs, the product, if it is a cap. So this is a clothing company. We have sweatpants, sweater, and t-shirt. And then we have colors and sizes. And the product ID is different depending on the combination of these 3 elements. And finally, we have the price for each product. So just to let you know, Power Query that we are going to use can deal with thousands and even millions of rows. But for these demonstrations, I'll be using very small files. So it's easier for us to see where the information is coming from, to track things and see something is missing. So it's easier for all of us. Let's see if there are any questions. I'm talking too much. Make it a little bit bigger. Not sure if I addressed that request on time. Yeah, I think it was from before, maybe, this request. Okay. Any questions so far? I want to point something out. I mentioned Excel tables a few times, and an Excel table, not sure if everyone knows what it is, and I'll be repeating this over and over and over throughout different sessions. It's knowing what an Excel table is. For me, it's one of the most important things that an Excel user needs to know. Okay, so an Excel table is not just a range of information with borders around. When we have an Excel table, so pay attention here to the ribbon at the top. Just see, okay. Those are the tabs there. If I click on this range that is in fact a table, I get an extra one. I get a table design tab there that wasn't there before here. This is one of the things that tells me that this information here is included in an Excel table. Another thing that I can check is here at the bottom, we can see there's a little thingy here, there. You see this little corner here? It's another indicator that we are working with an Excel table. And there are many advantages of working with tables throughout the sessions. I will be pointing those. I don't think we will have, not sure if we will create a table from scratch in this example, but when the time comes, I'll explain more about the tables. Keep in mind, if you never worked with Excel tables, Google about that, go learn why is it so important to work with Excel tables. Okay, so going back to our example, I have sales reports and I have three separate pieces of data about employees, stores, and products, okay? Going to close this. And all these pieces are in one file called company data. What we are going to build is this sales report generator. This sales report generator is a file that I already created to demonstrate what we are trying to accomplish with this session and the next one. So it's ready for a demonstration. And let's see, let's demonstrate this. In fact, let me put this over there. Let me bring the folder here. And here in our sales reports, we have data from January, February, March. In this situation, I want to look at this folder and I want to bring only the data from the most recent file. I don't want, so if I have up to March, I want to bring data from March. At the moment, we have data from April. It was from my previous testing. So the file is automated already. This is all we have to do. Because I have already a query, before going there, please note that here, we have already all the information coming here. Date, salesperson, product ID, quantity. This is what we had in our report, sales report, and then to the right we have the information that our manager asked us to get: employee name, location, store manager, product description, price, and amount. We will probably reorder these differently later, but we have everything here. So the first thing is I want to bring the data, and I want data from March. It's the last file available there. So if I go to Data tab here at the top and click on Refresh, just in this case, refresh all. There we go. A few seconds, and all that work of cleaning the March file and figuring out all the information related to product ID, the product, the employee, and the store is already here. and we have all the data for March. This is done with Power Query, and we will do this today. The second part of the automation is done in this case I used VBA, and the purpose of this automation is to, let me bring this up first, is to generate reports for managers here. So these are generated there already. Let me delete them. Ignore this. I'm working with Dropbox and it's coming. I have to fix something here. So every time I delete it, it confirms, asks me if I want to delete everything. That's fine. So just ignore that. Okay, reports for managers folder is empty. And now I want to go here and I click this button and say to get my reports generated. And we see Excel doing its thing. And we see on the left that the Excel files are being generated. Let's check one. For example, this last one, Pedro Alden is one of the manager's names, comes with this. Let's check to see if this is the data for Pedro. So store manager, if I filter here by Pedro, I get, it says here 11 records. Let's see if it is 11. No, 8 count. 8 records, and that's what we have here, 8 records. And if you check, it's probably not in the very same order, but these are all the elements that we had from Pedro Alden, okay? And same thing for the other managers. So that automation in VBA, what it did was it went through the list of all the managers that we have, and for each one of them, filtered the table by the manager name and copied that the data for that manager over to a separate file and save that file in that folder. So that's what we will be doing in the next session. So for now, let's start with Power Query. Who here has never done anything like this with Power Query? And who here has never done anything like this with, let me come here and see you. Who here has never done this, something like this with Power Query? Let me know there in the chat. And also, who here has never done anything similar to this with VBA? I'm just curious to know, because depending on what you know, I may be able to go faster or slower. Although the session will be recorded and other people who watch later may need me to be more specific and explain things slower. And while I'm waiting for your answers, I'm also organizing my files here. So I see missing the VBA part only. Kama is telling me, great. Nuno Marques is saying he says me, so I'm assuming none of the things. Marco Silva, hi, made similar with VBA, great. I made similar with VBA. Yeah, thank you, Marco. If anyone else wants to participate in the chat and let us know what their experience is, would be great. I'm just I want to know what I can help you better. Okay, so let me, while we transition, let me just go to my another folder where I have just the starting files, the starting point files, okay? Have to run, says Christian. Thank you, Christian, so much for being here. You're a pro, I know. So I just appreciate that you have stopped by today. I'll catch up the recording next time. Thank you. So let's go back. I'm going to go back. I'm going back to my screen. So this is our starting point now. We have all reports where I have reports from different months. I have up to May. And I have reports for manager, a folder that is created here where the reports for managers will be saved. It's empty at the moment. We have the sales reports. I'm going to delete this one to start exactly with the same point where we were before. So we have reports up to March, and then we can grab more reports from there. It's just a repository of more files. And we have our company data, that file that I showed you. I'm going to just start with a new Excel file here, just a regular Excel file. I'm going to call it sales report generator. Okay, I hope I'm spelling this correct. Okay. And I'm opening the file. Okay, so let's start from scratch. What did we need? We needed, and I'm looking here for my cheat sheet so that I don't forget anything. And just, okay, so we need to connect our file to our sales data, right? So what we need to do is to go to our data tab there at the top, data, and then get data. And we need to decide here from all the options we get what we need. We have all these options here that Power Query gives us, and inside each one of these are even more options. I'm going to make a zoom here in this one. So we have, excuse me, get data from file, and then we could go and look at a workbook, CSV file or text file, and so forth, even from PDFs. And then at the bottom, we have from folder. And in today's situation, we are going to look at the folder, right? So I'm going to choose this option from here. It's for those who are new with Power Query, it's probably not the best, not the easiest or the simplest example to start with. But my plan, if everything goes well, is to present you with different situations. Some will be simpler, others will be more complex. And today is just connecting to a folder. Okay, so even if you don't, let me just bring my camera here and let me tell you something. Even if you don't understand everything today, don't despair. Do not worry. And I'll tell you, if you keep watching, if you are interested in learning about Power Query, and if you work with data in Excel, my advice is that you should learn Power Query in Excel. Do not despair if you are not understanding everything today. For me, it happened like that. I started watching videos from different other professionals working with PowerPoint, and that in the first few ones, I didn't even know where Power Query was, where I could get or enter in Power Query. And later, when the situation came where someone asked me to do something that was about gathering data and comparing different sets of data, I was able to start using Power Query and started learning even more from there. So that's my advice. Don't despair. Okay, just bear with us, and each day you will be learning something new. Okay, so let's go do this. Data, get data from file, from folder. And we wait a little bit. And it will ask me, okay, which folder? So instead of browsing, I just come here and copy this path, okay? That's not the path. So the sales reports are in here. So this is the path I want. So Control C, escape, and then just come here, Control V, and paste the folder there. That's the folder where I have things now. We don't need to click browse, just go OK. And now we will get a list of the files in that folder. If we wanted to combine the information from all the files, from here we would go combine and transform data. But that's not what we want. We want to first pick only the most recent file. And how can we tell Excel which file is it? We have at the moment, and let me maybe zoom this a little bit for you. We have at the moment information about each one of the files. We have the name, extension of the file, date accessed, date modified, date created, attributes, and then the folder path. Okay. Usually I would go by the date created, but because these files were all put here at the same time for the purpose of this demonstration, you can see that the date created is exactly the same for all the files. On a real situation, the date created will be different because you have one file being created every month. Working with the date created instead of the date accessed or the date modified gives us a better guarantee that we will be looking at the correct file. Sometimes people go take a peek into the information, they open the file, and sometimes they save the file. They didn't do anything with it, or sometimes they even did it. But anyways, they change the date, modify it, or the date access. So we should be working with the date created, okay? But today I'll be working with the date modified column because that's where I see the different, and we see it's in ascending order. So January was created first, and then February, March, and so forth. Okay. So here, instead of going there, I'm going to click Transform Data. And Power Query opened on my other screen. Let me bring this over here. Let me maybe put this up to full screen. And now this is Power Query Editor. For those who never worked with Power Query, I better maybe explain a little bit of what's going on here. So Power Query is part of Excel since version 2016 and from then on. If you are using Excel 2010 and 2013, it is still possible to use Power Query. You can Google how to. You can go to Microsoft website and search for Power Query for Excel 2010 or 2013. Download it and install it, and you can Google how to install that. Okay. Those versions are not as complete as this one, and the one that offers us more features is the one for the users with Microsoft 365 subscription. Has more features, and it's better than the other ones. But if you have 2016, from then on, it's good enough. The two other 2010 and 13, I don't really even know how to use them very well. I had a situation where I had to work with 2013, I think it was, and it was very difficult. I had to say to the client, well, excuse me, you cannot give me tool that is not good enough to perform the work that you want me to do. So we need to get a better version. It's very difficult to work with those. You can, it's good to play and to start learning, but it will not offer you as many features. Okay, going forward, any other questions so far? Let me know. Always let me know in the chat, okay? So we are in Power Query, and so you see this is a new window that opens here from Excel. And while we are here, we cannot work there. You see, it doesn't let me. We've been asking Microsoft that they make this possible to click in between Excel and Power Query, but it's still not possible. Okay. We have a ribbon with some tools, different tabs here at the top. We will learn about these different tools as we work with different projects and different situations. Here on the left, I have a list of my queries at the moment, just this one. And here on the right, I have the name of my query. At the moment, it's called sales reports because Excel Power Query automatically named it after the folder. So I'm pointing this to the folder sales reports. We can change the name. We can click there and maybe we can say sales reports data. Okay. And here is where all the steps that I do with Power Query will be recorded. At the moment, only one step, the step source, that it's the step where I said the source is in that folder, and that's it. Okay, so going back, remember, we want to extract only the data from the most recent file, okay? So if we want to do that, what we are going to do is we are going to click here in the date modified column. And again, in the real world, I would use the date created instead. And I'm going to say sort descending. So from the biggest date and time to the smallest. You see that it puts the March file, which is the one that I want, it's the most recent one, at the top. So now what I'm going to say is, okay, so from now, let's go to the Home tab. And here, keep rows. I'm going to, and I'm not sure if you are able to, let me maybe do Control Shift. And if I do this, it doesn't, it zooms in here, but not in the ribbon. So in the Home tab, there's a button that says Keep Rows. If you need zoom, let me know. And then here we keep rows, keep the top rows, and then it will ask me how many top rows. I just want the first one, and click OK. So now this step guarantees me that I only have one file being selected. Okay. From here, I don't need any of this information to the right. And the only thing I need to do is to come here to this column content and click this little button here to extract the data. And because these data is in CSV files, we get this window, this dialog window, where we have some settings for CSV files. The list telling me that the delimiter is comma. There's some kind of settings here. Usually this is correct, and I'm not touching this. We are not touching this, okay? It's telling me which file I want to use as a sample. The first file, well, I only have one in the folder where I'm only looking at one file, so that will be the sample file. And this is a preview of the information we have in that file. We just need to click OK. And Power Query does its thing, and now a bunch of new stuff appears here. Is everything okay so far? Don't let me speak alone here, okay? Let me know that you are still awakened. Let me know that I'm not speaking to myself, although it's fine because I would do the live anyways if no one was here watching, so that someone could find the recording later and learn from it, okay? Oh, Kama is telling me thumbs up. Thank you, Kama. Okay, so what have we here? Remember, first we only had one step, two steps, keep the first rows. We did that. Filter, and then all of a sudden, a bunch of new steps here that Excel generated by itself. Let's leave it like that. The last step here is one step where Excel decided to tell me the data, the type of data for each column. Excel does that automatically. There's a way of turning that off. We are not going to talk about it today. I'm just going to delete this because I don't want this step made here at this moment. And here on the left, we have different queries that were generated automatically by Power Query. They are even organized in folders. So if I click this, if it will close. These are all helper queries, as the name says here. These queries are created so when we are pointing Power Query to a folder. Okay. And this is in fact our query, the one we are working on. But at this point, there's something that we can do either here or in the transform sample file. When I'm working with files that are in a folder, I usually like to go here and transform the sample file. What that means is this is a separate query that tells me what are the operations, or it will tell Excel Power Query what the operations are that we need to apply to each one of the files. In this example, it doesn't matter if I do it here, if I do it there, because I told Power Query first to disregard all the files except the last one, so we only have one. If we had multiple files that we were going to combine, it's good to do some cleansing here in the transform sample file first if we need to. So I'm going to do it here as kind of a good practice, okay? Tudo ok, Celia? It says Nuno. So my name in Portuguese, if you pronounce my name in Portuguese, although I present myself as Celia all the time here in North America, my name in Portuguese is pronounced Celia. So there you go. Yeah, for those who didn't know. So here, let's go to transform sample file. And what do I need? I'm going to close here to get a little bit more room. What is it in here in the file that we don't need? Well, what is it that we don't need? Anyone there? What is it that we want to clean from out of the data file? No answers. Well, there's something there that it's not important for my report, isn't it? There's some information here that I don't need for my report. What is it? What is it that we can discard, throw away? Well, I'm going to move on if no one wants to give me a try on the chat, an answer. So the first two lines, yay, thank you, Marco. Yes, the first two, and in fact, the first three, right? So we want to eliminate these three first rows because we don't need them. We just need the information from row 4 on. So here we would have different ways of doing it. We could come here to remove, let's go here, to remove rows and say remove top rows and then say remove the top 3 rows. That would be a way of doing it. If we are sure that there will always be 3 rows at the top that we want to eliminate, this will work. If we get a little bit suspicious and think, well, maybe sometimes the file, for any reason, who knows, sometimes it depends on where the files are coming from. If they are being generated by a program, they will most likely be always the same. If they are being generated by humans, it can be that someone decides to put extra rows there at the top that we don't need. So one way we could also do is to come here to column 2, for example, click the filter button and then say, I don't want the blanks, and filter that out, okay? And click OK. You see, that also works as a way of removing the top rows. And if there are more than 2 or more than 3 or maybe less, as long as they are empty, and at this point I'm assuming that in column 2 no one is going to type anything extra, this will work. And if you see here, I'm not going to talk a lot about this, but it's also important that you are aware. Here at the top, here at the top, we have this formula bar. The formula bar, I'll let you know where you can activate it in case you don't have it activated. And it's important to keep our eye in there. This is M code that is being generated, and this is the code that corresponds to our step. And because the steps are being recorded automatically, Power Query is guessing what we want. And in some circumstances, it doesn't guess it very, very well. So it's important for us to always keep an eye on there, because especially with filtering, in fact. But what it says is for in column 2, don't stress out if you don't understand the code, or if you are afraid of coding, don't worry. It will come. But if you start looking at it, you will get used to it. And also, I was telling you, to see the formula bar, you need to come here to View tab, the View tab, and then you need to have this check mark here. If you have this check mark, we have the formula bar available. If you uncheck it, the formula bar will be invisible. Okay. Okay, so now we eliminated the steps, the rows we didn't want. What do you think is the next thing we need to do? Só conta a partir da linha 4. Only counts from line 4 on, says Nuno. Yes. So we only want to count from this row. Now we eliminated the other one. So the first one is not data. It's our column names, the field names. So what we need to do here is to come to Home and use this button there that says Use first row as headers. Click there, and this will create a new step. In fact, 2 steps. Promoted headers is the step corresponding to, so let's go back. We were here with the promoted header step. Power Query put the names, the text that we had in the first row as names for the column fields, the column headers. That is great. That's what we want. And then again, it came here and decided to guess the type, the data type for each one of the columns. And we don't want that, even if you wanted to leave it here, because we are working on the transform sample file query. When it goes, then this is just a helper query. That information wouldn't go to the main query anyways. So again, we are working here. We were working in explaining to Power Query what we want to do with the file, each file in the folder. That in fact will be just one file in this case. Okay, everything is done except that we didn't define the data types. But again, we are not going to do it here. Everything shows up with an ABC, which makes sense because since this is a CSV file, it's a text file, everything is interpreted as text at the moment. So that's great. So now let's move on to where it says sales reports data. And now here we can see that we have our information and we have our column data types. And you see the data type now, it says ABC123. That means that that information that we had, sorry, let me go back here. That information that we had on the previous step, where the previous query, where it was saying that each column was text, now it reverted a little bit back and saying it's this symbol here, ABC123, means data type any. So it's kind of an undefined data type. It's not defined of any kind, right? Okay, so we have everything, and also we have a column with the name of the file. In this case, we only had one file. We are looking only at one file in the folder, but if we were looking at the entire folder, we would have the name of the file from which each portion of the date would come from. In this case, we don't need this, so we right-click here and click Remove, or we can come here and remove columns. Okay, there's different ways of doing things. I'll be using one, and then you will discover other ways of doing the same thing. Okay, so finally, it's the time to to get our the rest of the information we need. Okay, I'm going to just assign a data type here because it will be important for the next step. Let's come to Home, or better, to Transform tab, and there's a button here that says Detect Data Type. We can use this if we want Excel to do the work for us, but then we need to inspect. And so it created a step here named Change Type. And these steps can be renamed as we wish. I'm not doing this today, but we can talk about that when it makes more sense. Marcos Silva is saying, I'm wondering if it, with that way, what happens if there is a blank cell on the data? That's a good question. That's a good point, Marco. Yes. And again, we will have to do our best judgment and decide. So when we can do, let me just come up here. When we can do something different ways, we need to decide the best way of doing it. And this type of data is usually coming from a program, and in this case, I'm using the column with the sales representative code. It's very unlikely that it's not filled in, but you are right. If for some reason that column had a blank cell in that step here where I removed, I chose, instead of removing top 3 rows, I chose to remove blanks. If in that column 2 was a blank cell, that record would be deleted from my data. So that's important. And again, that's why it's important to then create some auditing steps and check if everything is coming correctly as much as possible before we move into production. Thank you, Marco. Good point. Okay. So it says it decided to assign this as a date. That's correct. I'm getting March dates. It's good. Sales rep, all these other columns were not assigned data type. So these two, sales rep, despite being numbers, they are, I don't want Excel or Power Query to consider them numbers because I'm not going to make any calculations with it. So if I'm going to make, they are just an ID. It could be text, but they're just number characters. So I'm going to right click here, choose change type, and then say this is text. Okay. And then in here, column quantity, this will always be, I can also click directly there. This will always be whole numbers, So in this case, because I'm selling clothing pieces. If I was selling something that could be sold maybe in kilograms units, and I could sell half a kilo, then I would have to assign a decimal data type here. In this circumstance, I can use the whole number. Okay. So what we are going to do now is we are going to leave this query that imports the sales information, and we are going to load this information to our Excel file, and we are going to find the other pieces we need before we can merge everything. So let's go to Home, close and load to. I'm going by default, and again, with this could be changed, but we are not going to talk about that today. By default, Excel comes with loading to a table on a new worksheet. That's the default. I'm going to leave it as is for now, so that those who are new to Power Query know see what this does. And you see, it created a new sheet called Sheet 2, and it put my table there. And this is formatted as an Excel table. So again, if I click here, I get the table design, and I also get the query tab there. And here on the side, If it doesn't show the pane, we can go to data and click on queries and connections. I get this pane here on the right side. We have all the queries listed here. This is the one we just created. It loaded 69 rows for us. Okay, now what is that we need to do next? What is it? We need to go and connect this file, and I'm going to save it just in case. What is it that we need to do next? We need to pick up other pieces of information that are located in this folder, this file called company data. Remember that file that has 3 tables with information about employees, products, and stores. Okay, so now we need to create other queries to point to that Excel file, right? So again, data, get data from file, and now it's from a workbook, not from a folder. And let's come here to my Dropbox and the demos. And we are here, and the file is in here. Company data is our file. You will see that the window that comes up now, it's a bit different than the one we had before. Before we were connecting to a folder with CSV files. Now we are connecting to just one file, and it's not a CSV file. It is an Excel file. So we get to choose what we want to look, what we want Power Query to look at in this file. And we have employees. Let me put this maybe a little bit bigger. We have employees, products, and stores, employees, products, and stores. This icon here, oh, I keep forgetting to click here, control. This icon here indicates that this is a sheet, and this icon here indicates that this is a table, this one with a little blue bar at the top. I want to look, it's easier when we have tables to use the tables and not the sheets, and it's much better. So let's just do that. We will ignore sheets. We will click here on select multiple items, and we will do this. And what this does is it will create 3 separate queries, one for each table, all at once. Then we'll need to look at each one carefully. Okay, so I'm not going to load because I want to transform some. I want to do something with it first. It's not ready. Let me maybe put my screen up to full. And here, okay, so let's look. You see here on the left side. Let me see if it zooms up. I don't think it does. Oh, there. Here on the left side, we have the sales report data, which is the report, the query we created before, and now the 3 ones. Okay, let's close this. We can also close this. No, not close because now I'm not selecting anything. Let's look at the employees query first. First, the name. I don't want the one. I don't need that. I can eliminate and edit the query name. That's fine. And from here, we want to keep only the employee name and the location. And of course, the employee ID. So I'm going to choose a column employee ID, then hold down control, employee name, and then go to the location because I want to figure out the manager from the location the employee is working from. Okay, and now that I have 3 columns selected, I can right-click in one of them and choose not remove columns, but remove other columns. So this is also a good thing because if new columns are added to that employee table, at this point, Excel will ignore all the other columns that are not employee ID, employee name, and location. And you noticed that here, maybe notice that here Excel Power Query already created that automatic step of changing the type. Usually I like to have it at the end, but that's fine. We have, no, in fact, it's not fine. Let me go there and delete from there. Delete it. We can delete the step just like that. And here I can say employee ID is text, employee name is text, and location is text. So click one column, hold down Shift, click the last column. We selected all the columns. I think we can also do Control A to select everything. Anyways, and right click and not here, sorry. Select that, and here in this little icon for the data type, right click and choose change type and say text. Everything is text. Okay. Our query that looks into that piece with information about employees is now taken care of. It's clean, looking good. So let's go and look at the products query. The products query, I don't need that 3 there in the name. Let's delete the change type as well, the step, change type. And from here, what I want to keep is the product ID. And then I want information about the product, and I want the price. So let's see what we have here. So hold on Control. I want the product and the color and the size and the price. And in fact is everything. So I don't need to remove columns. I have everything I need. What I want to do, in fact, I'm going to define all the data types. So these columns here, I would say change type to text. And this last one, I come here and I say change type to decimal or currency. I'm going to use currency. And what I'm going to do as well is I'm going to create one single column from these 3 that I will call product description, and it's the combination of these 3 columns, what product it is, what color it is, and what size. So selecting the 3 columns, click the first, hold on down Shift, click the last one, and then in transform, if I'm not mistaken here, merge columns. There's a button there called merge columns. And then we say we are given the option to indicate what is the separator we want in between the information of the 3 columns, and new column name, what name we want to give to the new column. So I'm going to give the new column product, the name product, description, and the separator will be a space. Okay. Now we have 3 columns. It's looking good. And now we have the 3rd piece of information with the stores. I can delete these 2 from the query name, and I'll keep the store ID, location ID, the location, and the location name. It's the location column, and I don't need the rest, the address or anything. I just need the store manager. Okay, right click on it, remove other columns. And everything is text and was guessed correctly here, so I'm going to leave that step there. It's fine. And now I'm going to do home, close and load to. And in this situation, I'm going to, instead of loading all the 3 pieces there, I don't need new sheets with information about employees and stores and all that we already have in the other. We already have that information in the other file. I don't need to repeat it here. I just need Excel to know about it. So in fact, what I'm going to do is to choose only create connection, and that makes Power Query bring the information without really putting the information physically in an Excel sheet. Okay, and let's do okay. Okay, now we could do different things. Let me go and do save. Let me know if there are any questions or comments. Okay, you are also quiet out there. I feel a little bit alone here speaking by myself. Okay, so here I'm going to just mention something very briefly for those who are more advanced and might be watching the video, the session. A good option here would be to go and use Power Pivot, and that means that we could keep these 3-4 pieces of information separate, and we could create connections between those tables. Maybe we will do that in the future in other sessions, but today, for thinking of those who are maybe giving the first few steps with Power Query, we are going to create a solution that it's easier for these people, and it also works, and it's not as long as it's not done with very heavy files, or I mean with a lot of records. What I'm going to do is to merge the information from the sales data report with the employees, the products, and the stores. You will see what I mean with by saying merge, but what I want to, so I wanted to point out that these merges with between two different sets of data can become very heavy and take a lot of time when we are working with files with thousands and thousands of rows. But that's not the case now, and a lot of times it's not the case. So let's assume we are on a situation like that. Okay, so I'm going to start a new query. I have the sales report data, and now I want to start from this one combining with this other one, with the employees. Okay, so I'm clicking here, and we could do reference, or I can do, maybe I can do data. There's different ways of doing this. Data, get data, and then combine queries and merge. That's another way of doing it. Let me put my screen bigger. And here it tells me, okay, it asks me, what do you want to merge? So I want to start with the sales report data query, and then merge this with the employees table. Okay, what kind of merge? Left outer join, the join kind. This it tells us here the different, if we click here, let me maybe zoom this up here for those who are new and don't know about these different join kinds. Oh goodness. Let me go back. I always forget there. Oh, let me go back again. There. Now, hopefully it will work. Hold on, control, don't forget, Celia. Okay. These are the 6 types of join kinds we have. The most common is the left outer, is the kind we use when we want to keep everything we have on the first query, which is the one chosen at the top, which is also called the left table. And we want to find all the matches for that information that we have on the second table. In this situation, it's very important that we don't have the same employee ID more than once on the second table, because if that happens, an employee that has multiple rows on the employee's ID table will be multiplied. Anyways, it will be we will have more than one row for that employee. We don't want that. Anyways, let's move on because it's getting late. So just choose that. Employees data is my first table. Sales data, sales reports data is my first table. Employees is my second table. And now I need to indicate what the correspondence is. So the column sales rep has the same type of information as the employee ID. So I hold on control or I don't even need to hold control and click that. So this is my connection. I choose the join kind and that's it. Okay. Oh, I forgot to change I'm not sure. So okay, I can change the name of the query here. This will be my final data. Sales final. Okay. And what we have here is the first columns are the ones in the first table, the sales table. Now we have a new column here where each cell is a table. Let's move on. Just don't worry about that. Let's just click here, expand. And in here, I want to select what I want to extract from the employees. Well, I don't need the employee ID because I already have it here, the sales rep. Okay, so I only choose the other two, and I don't need this because this will make the names in the columns be more complex than what we need. And that's it. So just like that, we now know that this sale made by employee 1015 was employee name Gustavo Selby, and this employee works at the Toledo store. Okay. Next, we want to bring up the information about the employee manager. And I can know that I can get that information from the store name. Okay. So let's go and do another merge. Now I can come here, merge queries, and choose, this is my first table, is the query that I am currently working on, and say the second table I want to look at to find my information is the stores. It's the query named stores that has this table. Okay. And now I say, whatever is in here, come look into there. Okay. Left outer join kind again, and okay. And we got a new step there. Let's go and extract. What do I need from here? I don't need the location ID. I don't need the location because I already have that information there, and I really need the store manager. So in fact, in our previous query, we could have disregarded the column location ID if we don't need it. Okay. That's it. We have the store manager there. Which store manager corresponds to which sale. And finally, we want to bring the product information. So I want to go to merge again, merge queries. And this is my current table. And I want to merge this with the products query that has this information. And left outer join again, but first I need to say, well, whatever is in product ID, look here on the second table and do the match, find the information that I need. Okay, we get this interim step with the tables. We just need to expand and say, I don't need the product ID because I already have it here, but I want the product description and the price because my manager wants me to send that information over to the other store managers. Okay. And that's it. So almost. Finally, remember that, not sure if I mentioned that, but I want a column with the amount of the sale, and I don't have that, but I have the quantity and the price of the product. So now I can calculate the sales amount of each one of the records. Okay, and to do that, I do add column, custom column. And what's the name for this new column? I'm going to say amount. And what do you want this column to be? I want it to be a note that we have the fields here on the right. So I can pick from there. I could also type in there, but I want to say it's the quantity, and then I just go and type the times, which is the asterisk times the price. And where is the price? The price is in here. Okay. Oh, and maybe I will need to, I should have checked the data type before, but I have good information here already. So I have quantity as a whole number and price as currency. So it brought the information over from the other queries, so it's correct. Okay. If there were text, it will give me an error probably saying that I cannot do calculations with text data, text type of data. Okay, so finally, I need to come here in the amount and say that I want this to be a currency or a decimal type of data column. All these steps here, I'm not renaming them on a real world. If we are building something that is, especially when it's complex, has a lot of steps, and that maybe someone else will need to come and look at it, we should be renaming these steps, and even for ourselves to help us make more sense of it in the future. And that's it. So now we have our data ready. Let me oh, one final thing that is good. Maybe we want to sort these columns. So date, sales rep. So maybe we should put the sales rep after maybe the product first. So date, hold on control, product ID, which product, maybe product description. Now the quantity. Let's move over there. Now the price, now the amount. Okay. Now let's maybe put here the sales rep and the employee name, the name of that sales rep, the location, and the store manager. So I click this in a certain way, and now I go close and load to. I'm going to load this to a new sheet. Okay, I'm not even going to do anything. So it created here at the bottom, as you may see, a new sheet called sheet 3, where it placed my table. And it didn't do what I wanted it to do. Sometimes there's some way it didn't sort. So let's go back. Sometimes there's a step where the way we select columns, it or sorts them, but not with the loading one. So let's go and sort this. So let's bring product ID. We can just drag the columns, and then product description. I think it was the way we mentioned before, and then the quantity, and then the price. There's other ways of doing this. There's ways of moving the files, moving columns, but let's do the simplest way today. Another occasion, I'll show you another way. Sales rep, employee name, location, store manager. Maybe we could also, here it's all, we can put sales rep ID, make it more consistent with the other titles we have for the other columns. Here, maybe also just to look nicer. It's not important for the end result in terms of what data, how the data looks like. Here, quantity, I'm just putting, following a caps pattern here, so it looks more consistent. Okay, and now let's go close and load. So in this way, you just saw how easy it is to fix something. I forgot something, I can go back into my query and add or remove or amend. Let's go save the file. Okay, and we are getting there to conclude the Power Query portion. Here, I don't need this anymore. This was my first data query. So what we can do is to come here, right click, and choose, click here, let me show you. Load to, click in there, okay? Let's click in load to. And let's say I don't want to load to a table, I want to only create a connection, okay? And this is telling me, oh, you are going to lose this table. And I say, okay, I don't care about that. I have the table, these two tables are in fact empty, so we can just select them and delete them. Okay. And that's it, we have our data for the March file. Okay, so we are now ready for the very last step, and I see there's comments there, so let me see what's going on here. So no, the first step in Excel is to format in table so that we can optimize formulas, functions, pivot tables, etc. The queries in Power Query are loaded into Excel in table format automatically. Yes, so queries are loaded always as tables, the result of a query, or that's not really true. You can create a query that the end result is just a string, like the content of a cell in a table. That's not the case today. But in a general way, you can say yes. So in general, queries are loaded as tables if you load them into the sheet, because you see these other queries here, they are not even loaded, they are connection only, but their result is the end result of each one of them is a table. The table is just not physically in the file, loaded into a sheet. It's in the file but not into a sheet. What else? Any other questions or comments? Some cosmetics, yes. Come on, we did some cosmetics just so it looks nicer here. And I wanted to tell you something else, but I forgot what it was. Never mind. That's good. If I remember, I'll tell you. Oh, I know what I wanted to tell you. I want to, you see how we created different queries, and some queries depend on other queries. So there's a very important thing that we should do here. If you go to data, here, launch query editor. It's another way of getting into the editor. Or we can just double click in one of the queries. And here in view, we can see query dependencies. See that button there? If we click there, we get a diagram, and we can click this button here to maximize it. That tells us all the queries we have and what comes from what. For example, the sales final report comes from the employees, the products, and the stores. And so when I click, it highlights all the other ones. And from the sales report, the reports data. So it's a combination of this one with the other ones. This one comes from these helper queries there. And these ones come from the file that is in this, described here in this path. And this one comes from that folder that it's mentioned there. So it's a nice way, sometimes it's helpful, especially if we don't have too many queries here. So why did I show you this? The sales data needs to bring data from these other sets of data. And when I merge information from here, I need to have this information already available, so that when I do the first merge to create this query, I say, okay, get this one first, and then when this one is ready, get the other one, and then do the matches. And I cannot take the risk of And these will be different depending on how big each one of the tables are. But I cannot take the risk of merging these without having all the information available. So what I like to do, despite the fact that these may make my queries a little bit slower, but I just play the safe, is I'm coming here where it says properties, and I uncheck this box here that says enable background refresh. I don't want that checked up, because this is telling Power Query, you can start bringing stuff in parallel, even if you don't have some tables ready, you can move on. I don't want that. So I'm just going to do this for all the queries. And this is something that by default, all the queries come with that check mark on. We've been asking Microsoft, please make this, let us choose what default behavior we want. Okay, let me save. And now we are ready for our final test. So let's move this file there. There. And let me just put this bigger here. So remember, we had just up to March. Let's go to all reports and bring the copy, the April report. Go to sales report folder and put the April report there. So now April's report will be the most recent file. And if we see the date modified here, not the date modified, is it the date modified that we are looking at? I can't remember which column, or was it the date? Yeah, it was date modified. It's telling me the same time. We will check that. Was it date modified that we used? Date created. Okay, yeah, it was the date created. So date created was different from file to file. So okay, so I am with March data. I got my new report. Let's go and do the test. Let's go to data, refresh all. That's it. There's the March data there. You see? All the April's data. Let's do it again because it's so fun. Let's go get the May report from there. Let's go to sales reports and let's put it there. And let's go to our file, just click in refresh all. That's it. Now we have May data. And so that's the end of what I had to show you today. So Dick is asking, doesn't data refresh all respect the hierarchies? And use your data connection as the source of a pivot table? Yes, we could use load the data as a pivot table. I'm not sure if that's what you mean, Dick. And in terms of the hierarchies, it should respect the hierarchies, but because I'm not so confident about that it will do that, I prefer to, because I've seen situations, and one situation is in, oh, sorry, you don't want to see this. One situation, I'm just going to stop sharing. Here. So one situation is exactly if we have a table and a pivot table that is built on top of the query table. if you don't disable the background refresh, you will have to click refresh all twice to get your pivot table updated, because the pivot table will read from the query table at a time where the query table is not updated yet. And so the pivot table, when it updates, it doesn't have the current data. And to get it right, you have to click twice. So that's one situation. It's not exactly the same thing we have here. Here we only have query tables, and there's the dependencies on them. But I still think that if you have enable background refresh, what you are saying is move ahead if you can. And I'm not sure if the refresh all respects that. If anyone watching has a definitive and is sure about this, let me know, because it's one issue that we need to deal with. And so let's see more comments. We have Nuno saying, creating several queries from different sources, external, work, organize, sort, and combine, merge as queries to import all the information into Excel to create reports. There you go. You have an A. You paid attention, Nuno. I know you are new to Power Query, so you really understood the point of this session. I'm happy with that. It, it tells me that my explanation made some sense. At least for you, it did. I hope it was clear for more people. Yes, so you don't need to remove background refresh, maybe? That says Dick. Did not know that. Cool to know. We can check that later. This should be a big risk then. Yes, and that's why I always, by default, I even have a macro that does that, goes to all the queries and sets the properties of all of them as not allowing background refresh, because I just prefer my queries to take a little bit longer to load and have everything loading at the correct time than having stuff being loaded and not at the correct moment. Maybe this is not even the best example to show how important this is. This can be in some circumstances, but I know that I've run into that problem sometimes. And that's why I want to give you this alert. And another thing for those interested in understanding this background refresh property a little bit better, I have a video on my YouTube channel. Let me show you that. You are watching from my YouTube channel, so you don't need to know where my YouTube channel is, but it's one of the very last videos. Let me see if I find it. Just a second. Okay. Let me put this up here. And let me go back there where we have, let me share my screen. Sharing my screen. Okay. So in here, if you go to videos and here, enable background refresh property in Power Query explains a little bit of this behavior. It's also important when you are working with VBA. If you are using VBA to refresh queries, VBA runs faster than the query. And if you don't have, if you have that thing checked on, VBA runs ahead and leaves the query behind while it's still loading. And then if you are intending to use the results of the query in your next operations with that VBA code, then it won't have the correct information. So there you go. Something that I hope is useful for you guys. Speaking of YouTube channel, If you like this session, remember to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you think it's worth to come and watch the other sessions. In the next session that I'm planning it to be next Wednesday at the same time, 5 p.m. Eastern time, time in Toronto, I will do the VBA portion of it. So if you want to learn how to do that, how now we can create a button in this file that we click the button and it just goes ahead and creates separate files for each one of the managers, then let's get together the next session. Pay attention to my social media profiles or to the YouTube channel when the notification comes up, and or you can just watch it later if you don't want to join live or you can't. Okay, so that's it. Let me see if there are any other comments that I may have missed. Okay, 20, Nuno is giving me a rate of 20, which in Portugal is maximum rate. High school students are rated in a scale 1 to 20. So thank you, Nuno. Jack Maguinha, thank you, Celia. It was very interesting. Oh, in fact, I forgot that I can do this. Thank you. I'm new to using this tool, this StreamYard tool. I'm new to using this. So thank you so much. And thank you for your patience and for bearing with me more than almost 2 hours. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Dick, great presentation. 11 out of 10. Breaking the scale. Okay, thank you so much, everyone. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you start learning, practicing. And if you have any suggestions, if you have maybe a specific situation where you would like to see me applying Power Query, reach out to me, maybe on LinkedIn or so, and I'll consider that. I'm planning to do more sessions, so that we can help people start using Excel with the features it has, because there's too few people knowing how to use it well and being able to provide companies with the quality work they deserve in Excel. Okay, I hope you stay safe. Enjoy your weekend. Thank you for joining me all this time on a Friday evening. I'll consider if Fridays are a good time to do this or not in the future. And you can also let me know about that. Thank you so much. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.